November 22, 1963. When President Kennedy was shot, the CIA knew something they never told anyone. Documents released in 2025 changed everything. The sun was shining in Dallas. The clock showed 12 p.m. President John F. Kennedy sat in an open car with his wife Jackie, who wore a bright pink suit. The Lincoln Continental limousine moved slowly through the streets. Texas Governor John Connally and his wife were also in the car. The crowd was ecstatic. Thousands of people filled the streets. The crowd cheered for Kennedy, shouted his name, and took photographs. Children waved their hands. Kennedy smiled and waved to the people. Jackie sat beside him with elegant grace. Nothing seemed capable of ruining this day. But on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, by a window, Lee Harvey Oswald was waiting. This 24-year-old man held a Mannlicher Carcano rifle, tracking Kennedy's car. His heart was racing, his hands were trembling, but he was determined. At 12:30 p.m., everything changed. The first shot. Kennedy was hit in the neck. He grabbed his throat with both hands. Jackie turned to him, looking terrified. The second shot. It missed. The third shot. It hit the back of Kennedy's head. Blood sprayed. Jackie screamed. Kennedy lurched backward. His eyes were open, but he wasn't moving. Chaos erupted. People began running frantically. Screams filled the air. Security agents rushed to the car in panic. The driver hit the gas. Jackie clung to her husband's body, tears streaming down her face. But the truly shocking thing was a truth no one knew at that moment. The CIA had been monitoring Lee Harvey Oswald for months. Lee Harvey Oswald was born on October 18, 1939, in New Orleans. His father died of a heart attack 2 months before Lee was born. His mother, Marguerite, was a cold and distant woman. Lee spent his childhood constantly moving. By age 12, he had attended 6 different schools. He spent time in an orphanage. In 1953, at age 13, a psychiatrist evaluated him in New York. The doctor's report stated, "This child is withdrawn, antisocial, and has problems with authority. Potentially dangerous." Lee dropped out of school. In 1956, at age 17, he joined the Marines. He was sent to Atsugi Air Base in Japan. He worked there as a radar operator. He had access to classified military information. He monitored operations of U-2 spy planes. But something changed in Japan. Lee began to take an interest in communism. He learned Russian. He read Soviet newspapers. He befriended local Japanese leftists. But was this merely intellectual curiosity, or something deeper? In 1959, before his military service ended, Lee requested early discharge, claiming his mother was ill. The request was approved, but Lee didn't go home. Instead, he took a ship to Europe, to Finland, then to Moscow. This is where everything changed. October 16, Lee Harvey Oswald arrived at the Moscow train station. It was the height of the Cold War. An American soldier defecting to the Soviet Union was an incredible event. Intourist, the Soviet State Tourism Agency, assigned Lee a guide. Her name was Rima Shirokova. Rima's job wasn't just to show the tourist around. She was also monitoring him for the KGB. Lee told Rima something shocking. "I want to live in the Soviet Union. I want to renounce my American citizenship." Rima was surprised. She reported to the KGB. Lee wrote a letter to the Kremlin. "I am prepared to share military secrets," he said. "In America, the working class lives like slaves. Communism is better." But the answer was negative. The Soviet Union refused to accept Lee. His visa was expiring. He had to leave the country. October 20, Rima came to pick up Lee from his hotel. She was going to put him on a train, but Lee wouldn't open the door. Rima called hotel security. They broke down the door. Bathroom, bathtub, red water. Lee had slashed his wrists. He was taken to the hospital. A psychiatric evaluation was conducted. Soviet authorities realized Lee was truly determined, and they made a decision. Lee wouldn't be granted Soviet citizenship, but he would be allowed to live in Minsk and work in a factory. The KGB would keep him under constant surveillance, but there was something he didn't know yet. During this time, the CIA was also watching him. January 19, Lee Harvey Oswald arrived in Minsk. The Soviet government gave him an apartment, a job, and a good salary. He started working at the Minsk radio factory. The workers liked him. He was famous as the American communist. His social life improved. He joined the volleyball team. He went to bars. He started dancing. March 9, Lee met Marina Prusakova at a dance event. She was 19 years old, beautiful, intelligent, and independent. Lee fell in love with her. They married after only 6 weeks, but Lee told Marina a lie. At the wedding he raised a toast. "We'll spend happy years in Minsk," he said. A lie. Because Lee was already tired of the Soviet Union. He had seen that communism wasn't what he had imagined. While factory managers were wealthy, workers were poor. The state controlled everything. People weren't free. Lee was disillusioned. He kept a diary. He wrote in English. Marina couldn't read it. February 9, Lee told Marina something shocking. "We're going back to America." Marina was stunned. "You promised you wouldn't abandon me." Lee said, "I'm not abandoning you. You're coming with me. It will be better in America." Marina had learned she was pregnant. She agreed. But returning to the US wasn't easy. The bureaucracy took a year. America seemed reluctant to take Lee back. But finally the visa came through. June 1960, Lee saw the Statue of Liberty. But no one was waiting for him at the port. There were no journalists, no interest. So when an American defected to the Soviets and came back, why did no one care? You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. Lee settled in Texas with Marina and their baby. Lee knew he needed a job, but he had other plans in his mind. He wanted to turn his diaries into a book. He would describe Soviet life, criticize communism, propose a new political system. He wanted to see himself as a thinker. He hired a stenographer. But after just 2 days he ran out of money. His dream collapsed. June 26, 1962. The FBI summoned Lee to the Fort Worth office. 2 agents interrogated him. "Why did you go to the Soviet Union?" Lee responded with an arrogant attitude. "I don't want to relive the past." "Did you share military secrets?" "No." "Did you work for the KGB?" "No." "Have you ever worked for the FBI or CIA?" Lee laughed. "If I had, wouldn't you know?" The agents couldn't get anything from Lee, but they released him. But surveillance continued. The CIA and FBI continued to monitor Lee. They tracked his home. They listened to his phone conversations. They opened and read his letters. March 1963. Lee and Marina moved to Dallas. They rented a modest house. Lee lost his job again. Money was tight. Marina became pregnant. Lee became increasingly tense, more irritable, more violent. He physically abused Marina. He prevented her from learning English. He isolated her. And during this time, dark plans were forming in his mind. What you're seeing now is nothing. April 10, 1963. Night. Marina was alone at home. Lee hadn't come home. She was starting to worry. She entered Lee's study. She saw a note on the desk. It was written in Russian. "Marina, I'm leaving you what little money I have. Burn my clothes, but keep my notebooks and papers. Here's the key to the post office box." Under the note was a strange photograph. Lee holding a rifle, wearing black clothes. Marina began to tremble. What is he doing? The door opened. Lee came in. He looked pale, sweaty, exhausted. Marina shouted, "What did you do?" Lee said, "I shot General Walker." Marina was shocked. "Who is he?" Lee said, "Someone like Hitler. Right-wing, racist, anti-communist. I had to kill him." Marina said, "Are you crazy? The police will come." Lee said, "No, nobody knows." But Lee was wrong. The bullet had entered through a window at General Walker's home. But it had missed Walker. It lodged in a wall. Walker was alive. Police investigated the incident. But they couldn't find any suspects. No connection was made to Lee. 7 months later, after the assassination, police would find that photograph and note in Lee's home. You won't believe this, but September 9, Lee Harvey Oswald traveled to Mexico City. He had left Marina and the children with friends. He went to the Cuban consulate. He met with Consul Sylvia Duran. "I want to go to Cuba. I want to join Fidel Castro's revolution. I want to fight against America's capitalist government." Sylvia said, "Unfortunately, I can't issue you a visa. The bureaucratic procedure is very complicated." Lee became angry. He started shouting. He broke into tears. "You must help me. I need this." He reached for the pistol in his pocket, but then he pulled his hand back. A gun wouldn't help here. Sylvia called her supervisor. They threw Lee out. But at that moment, something else was happening. The CIA was monitoring all consulates in Mexico City. They were recording the phone lines of the Cuban consulate. Lee's conversations were recorded. The CIA added Lee's name to their files. They noted, "Connected with Cuba," but no action was taken. Lee returned to America. He settled in Dallas. He found work at the Texas School Book Depository. He earned $1.25 per hour. November 24, 1963. Night, Lee begged Marina, "Please come back home. Live with me." Marina said no. Lee went to the room. He left his wedding ring and $170 on the dresser. The next morning, his neighbor drove him to work. Lee was carrying a long package. The neighbor asked, "What's that?" Lee said, "Curtain rods." A lie. Inside the package was a Mannlicher Carcano rifle. Wait a minute, don't miss this detail. November 22, 12:30 p.m. 3 gunshots. Kennedy was hit. On the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, police found a rifle. It had Lee Harvey Oswald's fingerprints. 1:15 p.m. Lee entered a movie theater. He went inside without buying a ticket. Someone called the police. 1:45 p.m. Police stormed the theater. Lee pulled out his pistol, but 7 officers captured him. In the police car, Lee shouted, "I haven't done anything I should be ashamed of." At Dallas Police Headquarters, Lee was interrogated. He was questioned for 12 hours, but he wasn't given a lawyer. No audio recording was made. Lee denied everything. "I didn't kill Kennedy. I've been set up. I'm a patsy." Journalists flocked to the police station. They wanted to film Lee. Lee looked at the cameras. "I want a lawyer. My rights are being violated." But 48 hours later, no lawyer had reached him. November 24, 1963. Morning. Lee was to be transferred to an armored vehicle. And at that moment, Jack Ruby entered the scene. November 24, 19. Lee Harvey Oswald was led out from the basement of the police station with handcuffed hands. Nearly 100 police officers and about 50 journalists were there. Flashes exploded. Cameras rolled. Lee squinted. Suddenly, a man burst from the crowd. Black suit, fedora hat. His name was Jack Ruby. He held a pistol. He fired into Lee's chest. Lee collapsed to the ground in pain. "Ah," he cried out. Police seized Ruby. They took Lee to the hospital. 1:07 p.m. Lee Harvey Oswald died. So who was Jack Ruby? Jack Ruby owned a strip club in Dallas. He had connections to the local mafia. He cooperated with police. He was a police informant. But why did he kill Lee? Ruby said, "I loved Kennedy. I wanted revenge. I didn't want Jackie to suffer in court." But most people didn't believe this, because Ruby was connected to the CIA and the mafia. At that time, the CIA was planning assassination attempts on Fidel Castro. It was cooperating with the mafia. Ruby was known in these circles. Was Ruby killed to silence Lee? Ruby died of lung cancer in prison on January 3, 1967. Before he died, he told journalists, "The truth is very different, but I can't tell it, otherwise they'll kill me." And Ruby died. With his secrets, 60 years passed. The JFK assassination was history's greatest mystery. In 1964, the Warren Commission published a report. Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. No conspiracy. But no one believed it. In the 1970s, Congress launched a new investigation. Conclusion: there was probably a conspiracy. But the files remained classified. In 2017, Donald Trump promised to release the files, but he didn't fully release them. The CIA wanted some documents to remain classified. In 2025, Trump became president again, and he released all the files. 77,000 pages of documents, made public. Here are the shocking truths that emerged. 1. The CIA was monitoring Oswald. Moscow, Minsk, Mexico, everywhere. His Cuba connections were known, but no action was taken. 2. Kennedy wanted to dismantle the CIA. After the Bay of Pigs failure, his trust was shaken. An advisor said, "The CIA has become too powerful. It should be broken up." 3. The FBI didn't interrogate Oswald sufficiently. When he returned from the Soviets, he was only interviewed a few times. A no-danger report was written. 4. Jack Ruby's mafia connections were known by the CIA. But why Ruby killed Lee still hasn't been fully explained. 5. Second shooter theory. Some documents suggest there may have been an additional shooter, but there's no definitive evidence. America's secret operations concealed the truth for 60 years. Maybe Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Maybe he was a pawn. Maybe the CIA knew but didn't prevent it. But one thing is certain: the government didn't tell everything it knew, and maybe it never will. The truth is still out there somewhere. In the classified files, we may never know exactly what happened on November 20th, but now we know one thing: America's secret operations keep secrets from its people. And this is just the beginning.